The majority of life on Earth is based on energy that's received from the sun. Not all of it, and we'll talk about some of these alternative energy sources in a little bit. For the most part, we can think of terrestrial life is based on solar power. How do we extract the energy from the sun? We don't all have little solar panels sitting on our head. Well, we do it through the process of photosynthesis in plants. In the very simplest form, photosynthesis involves a chemical reaction which takes carbon dioxide and water and combines them together. Now, if you think for a minute, you know that carbon dioxide is everywhere in the atmosphere. Water is everywhere in the atmosphere. We don't have these chemical reactions happening all over the place. So carbon dioxide and water do not react naturally. They require energy to react. We call that an endothermic reaction. That means that these two things will stay in contact with each other forever unless you add energy into the system. When you do add energy into the system, you can get out oxygen, and what's left over is CH2O. This is a carbohydrate. Where does this energy come from? I'm going to draw that as the symbol for a photon. That's the solar energy. In the planetary science point of view, this is what enables life here on the surface of the Earth. The energy from the photons is added to this chemical reaction, and as a waste product gives out this oxygen, but it makes this carbohydrate. Why is making carbohydrates important? Oh, carbohydrates are amazing things. First off, they are organic molecules. They have that carbon in them. Carbon chemistry is one of the richest chemistries that we have for molecules, because you can take any sorts of these carbon molecules with things on them and you can build bigger and bigger and bigger carbon molecules out of them. The other great thing about carbohydrates, as everybody knows, carbohydrates can be used as a source of energy. So what you're doing is taking this photon energy that it takes to break apart the water molecule, and you're storing it into this carbohydrate, basically, and allowing that carbohydrate now, that molecule, you can think of it as a battery. It takes the photon and stores it into this carbohydrate battery. The nice thing about a carbohydrate battery is that you can move it to different places. So all of this photosynthesis reaction takes place in the plant cells, like in a leaf of a plant. And yet the plant needs energy in many different places other than just in its leaves. And so it can make these carbohydrates, transport these carbohydrates to places that need energy, use the energy there. We'll talk about how in a minute. And it can also take these carbohydrates and turn them into much more complex long chain hydrocarbons, we call them, where we have many, many carbons attached to many, many of these hydrogen and oxygens and other things. And you can use those to make structure. Cellulose is one of these long chain hydrocarbons. You can also put these things into very compact energy storage carbohydrates, which have been packed into more compact form. So the fact that we have abundant CO2 in the atmosphere, the fact that we have liquid water, which can be brought up by the plants and put into contact with the CO2, and the fact that we have sunlight, in this case, allows us to make these carbohydrates, these rich hydrocarbons that are both an energy storage source and a source of structure that we can use. For fun, let's look at the chemical structure of some of these carbohydrate molecules just to get a better feel for how they work for energy storage, for structures, and for other things. I'm going to show you these chemical structures. If you've never seen them before, I'll describe what's going on here. Each of these intersections here is a carbon atom. We don't normally show the carbon atoms because there are so many of them, they're all at these intersections. And each of these carbon atoms, you can see, are attached to oxygens or hydrogens in this carbohydrate. For the chemists out there, you know the size of the line here shows you the type of bond that you have. But basically, you see that you just have a bunch of carbons attached together, and you have oxygens and OHs, hydroxides. We'll talk a little bit about how you take this glucose and turn it into energy, which is what you really want to do. But this is a simple sugar, carbohydrate. You can take all those same atoms and rearrange them differently. Again, now here all the carbons are at these intersections, and you can form a long chain. Notice here there's a connection here to an identical unit over here, so you can have as many of these sections as possible going through here. This long chain hydrocarbon is called cellulose. You can imagine, because you have these very long chains, that you can actually use them to build things like, oh, I don't know, trees, leaves. There are a couple other interesting things here. Cellulose, because it's so big, has such a long chain, cellulose is not soluble in water. You know this. You can't take a piece of wood and have it very quickly dissolve in water. And so cellulose is good for being used as a structure for holding water. As we'll talk about in a little bit, holding water is a very important point. Here's another important thing you can do with these molecules, with these carbohydrates that you first formed. These are starches. Starches are what plants use to basically store the energy of carbohydrates when they don't need them. And as you can see, this 300 to 600 of these chains, these individual little units that attach to each other, which are again OHs and Cs. They're just long chains of these carbohydrates. Like the cellulose, these are big molecules. They are not soluble in water. And so again, the carbohydrates, the small carbohydrates, glucose, as you know, you take sugar, it dissolves in water. Starch does not dissolve in water. And what that means practically for a plant is that you can store it much more efficiently. You can't really pack glucose together very efficiently in a plant that's mostly water because you have to put it in water. So there we have it. From this very simple reaction of CO2, the very abundant CO2, and water, very abundant water, adding in some photons, we get this incredibly complex chemistry of energy sources, structure sources, energy storage. It's an amazing story. It's really hard to not think that this is a way that biology almost has to happen, because it's hard to think of any other simple chemistry like this that can lead to such amazing complexity. Doesn't mean that we're not just being Earth-centric when we say that, but man, it's a pretty amazing thing. Now, how this really happens, I can write this chemical formula very simply. The actual ways in which you take the photon, you pull up the CO2, you bring in the water, involves an incredibly complex set of mechanisms that biologists have spent centuries really uncovering. But as planetary scientists, we're going to ignore it. We're going to say, we understand photosynthesis perfectly fine. There's a flip side to photosynthesis, and that's, of course, I keep on talking about the carbohydrates as energy sources, but I haven't talked about what that chemical reaction is which gives the energy, so let's talk about that now. This goes by the name respiration. You've heard that before. You might even understand what it's going to be if I just use that word for you. Respiration involves taking a carbohydrate, and I'm just going to write one of these CH2Os, but the carbohydrates are in general more complex than this very simple one here. We can imagine this as a glucose molecule. And you combine that with O2, and what do you get? Well, it's just the opposite of what we had before, CO2 plus water. Remember that I told you it took energy to go from this side to this side, and it releases exactly the same amount of energy as it goes from this side to this side. And that energy is what powers life. It's an interesting symbiotic relationship we're in with plants. We've always known that plants take in CO2 and give off oxygen, and that we take in oxygen and give off CO2. There's the CO2 that we're giving off. But it's more deep than that. Plants take in CO2 and give off oxygen, but plants also are the ones that make these carbohydrates, or we eat animals that have eaten plants, we eat something. We get the carbohydrates eventually from the plants, and we take those carbohydrates and recombine them with oxygen that the plants gave off and give back CO2, which the plants need. All in all, a pretty amazing system that we have here of photosynthetic-based life generally on the surface of the Earth.